what should you do when a client changes the copywriting that you send to them? It could be relatively small changes. It could be lots of little adjustments that you feel detract from the quality that you sent them. Or it could be an absolute botch job where they just come in and ruin everything that makes the copy you sent them great. They add a lot of really bad stuff. They take away all the good stuff. What do you do? How do you handle it? Is this avoidable? Going to answer these questions in today's episode.
This episode is sponsored by Copy AI, a toolkit that helps writers, marketers, and freelancers skip writer's block completely and quickly create first draft copy for themselves and their clients. If you'd like to get a 30-day free trial, head on over to copy.ai/Jacob.
So the first thing you need to understand is that every single person you will ever write for is going to change your writing. Now, you may occasionally come across a few exceptions to this, but don't expect them. By and large, everyone you will ever write for will change your copywriting. Now, in a handful of these cases, they are actually going to make very good changes. Hopefully, you will be lucky enough to work with editors at some point in your career who will come in and make your work significantly better than what you sent them. It's one of the best ways to grow as a writer is to work with really good editors where you actually get to see every little change they make to take what you don't realize is bad writing or mediocre writing or just writing that's not as good as it could be. And every little change that they make to take it to the next level is going to be an incredible learning experience. So I've had the chance to work with editors in the past who, made critical adjustments to my writing in a way that helped me learn a lot, and I very much hope you will have the same experience. That said, the vast majority of people who will be messing with your writing will not be making it better. In fact, many of them will be making it so much worse. And this is just part of being a freelancer. The reality is you are not the owner of the work you are creating. You can write for yourself anytime. You can write for your own businesses anytime. But when you are selling writing to someone else, they now own it. They get to do with it whatever they want. And in a lot of cases, inexplicably, even when they are paying you thousands and thousands of dollars for the writing that you are sending them, they will then go in and make it terrible. You are going to experience this a lot when you are a brand new writer, and this continues to be just as annoying, if not more annoying, the later you go in your career as it is at the beginning. I think a lot of writers are under the impression that in order to land a copywriting gig, the client needs to see you as a de facto expert. And by extension, they think that, hey, once they can convince someone that they are that expert, their writing is going to be accepted as flawless. And neither of these are the reality. The reality is that business owners hire freelancers simply because they need a service. They may expect a very high quality of service. They may expect a lower quality of service. But at the end of the day, it's their business. And regardless of where they feel you fall on the spectrum of expertise, they're going to have their own biases. They're going to have their own personal preferences that they can't look past. This is part of why I begin the process of copywriting with a more collaborative process. When I start with the value proposition for, say, website copy, I will collaborate with the client to try to get a feel for their personal preferences, because I understand that at the end of the day, their preferences are going to be just as important in the copy that gets published as what actually works. People are not fully rational. People are going to choose what they like, what sounds good to them, even over what the expert, or in some cases even the hard data, tells them. And most clients are never going to get to the stage of hard data in the first place, so the copy that they choose to publish will fundamentally be a subjective call, and they're going to choose their own subjective preferences. So all that to say, even when you are the expert, even when you get to the point where you have worked a lot on these projects and you have very firmly held beliefs about what works, it's still subjective. Until there's an actual split test taking place, a statistically significant split test between what you're writing and some other version, there's no way to objectively know what's the right call. Marketing, copywriting, it is a educated guess. The first round is always a best guess, and then you improve based on the data. That's how it works. Everyone who doesn't think this is how it works is newbies. It's people who know just enough to not realize how little they know. And the more you actually learn about marketing, the more businesses you work on, the more you see things that you did not expect to work just blow up and succeed, while things that had everything going for them just go nowhere. The more you will understand that it's always a best guess. And marketing is just having a systematic and intentional process for making, experimenting, and then improving on those guesses. So all that to say, when it comes to clients botching your copy, don't take it too personally. You're going to have to learn to be okay with it to some extent. That said, there are a few things that you can do. For starters, when a client makes a change that you feel very strongly is going to negatively impact performance for their business, in most cases, it's going to work out very well for you to voice that concern. The key is how you voice it and how you follow up on their feedback. I talk a lot about seeing yourself as a consultant, even if you're just being paid for writing. When you're working with a client, you just want to assume that they value your expertise on the writing and the context of the writing, even stuff like the layout of the page or the design of the page or the stuff that's coming before or after. Anything that connects to the performance that your copy fits into, you should have some understanding of it or be working towards building your understanding of those things. So when a client changes your copy or is looking to go in a direction you don't think will work, or is just doing anything that you feel is going to hurt their business, I recommend letting them know, saying, hey, I think this direction is not going to work for this reason. And this is the key. You need to give a specific reason. Saying, I just think this is bad is meaningless. You should always have a very specific reason for why you think this is the wrong choice and what benefits you think the alternative that you're proposing or the previous iteration that they changed is a better fit, is going to get better results for them than what they're wanting to do. So you voice it simply, don't make it an attack, just fairly simply say, hey, just so you know, I think that this will work better because of this. I think this will not work in your favor because of this. And then if they come back and say, oh, okay, that's a good point, let's do it that way, well then great. But if they come back and say, okay, I disagree, or I hear what you're saying, but we want to run with that anyway, then you don't fight back because you are the service provider. You are the one being paid to give them what they want. They are your client, and so giving them what they want is more important than giving them what you think is the best product. And that can be a little tricky to navigate mentally because obviously we want to create the best possible product for our clients. But it's not your responsibility to run their business. It's not your responsibility to tell them what they want. You can tell them what you think will work best for them, but if they decide that's not what they want something else, then your job as the service provider is to give that to them. The other thing you can do is something I mentioned earlier, and that is bake in some sort of collaborative process into the beginning of your project. If you can get a little back and forth, send some different, phrasing, some different tones, and some initial copy, and see what they actually respond to. Because one thing you'll find the longer you freelance is what a client says they want and what they actually want are two very different things. You'll also find this if you ever create products and try to sell to real customers. What customers say they want and what they'll actually pay you for are quite different. So the first thing I do to navigate that is ask the client to tell me what brands they want to emulate in the questionnaire. So that's kind of the first check there, is because they'll often say, I want a fun tone, I don't want it to be formal, I want it to be unique. And then I ask them to share examples of brands they want to emulate, and those brands are formal, very ununique, very straightforward. And right off the bat, that tells me that what they think they want and what they really want are probably misaligned. But what I'll do then is when we go into the value propositions, I will send a bunch of different options for them to look through some of which will be straightforward, some of which will be actually formal, some of which will be more fun and unique. And I'll see which of these do they actually respond to, which of these do they tell me I want this. And that's going to help prevent scenarios where you send an entire first draft over based on what they say they want and then find out, oh, it's not actually what they want and have to do a whole bunch of editing and adjustments. You can kind of nip that in the bud a lot of cases. It's not a perfect solution. Like I said, I still regularly find myself in situations where people significantly change the copy I send them. So hopefully those 2 tips help limit the experience of sending someone your copywriting and just having it absolutely destroyed, making it completely unusable for a testimonial. Been there, felt that. We all have. Like I said, it's ubiquitous. Nobody escapes it. Those tips will help a little bit, but just understand it's something you're going to have to deal with through the rest of your career. As long as you are a freelance writer, people are going to be diluting and or completely destroying the work you send them. It's why 2 years ago I actually designed and bought like 500 units of a t-shirt that said, "Keep calm and change it back to what your copywriter sent you." I'll throw up a little image on the screen. Maybe I should sell those this year. If you want me to sell those, drop a comment on the video or the blog post. That would be pretty funny. But anyway, hope that was helpful, and I will catch you guys in the next episode.